of the National Entrepreneur Center and Orange County government, welcome to Main Street Profiles, a program that can help you discover the secrets of turning a good idea into a successful business. Our guests are typically entrepreneurs and business owners and community leaders, here to share their secrets, their knowledge, and the stories of success, which might just make your business dreams come true. I'm your host, Jerry Ross, and thanks for joining us today on Main Street Profiles. On today's show, we're going to be chatting with Diana Bolivar, the president of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Metro Orlando, to learn about her journey to success and how that might help guide your business success too. So let's get started. Hello, Diana, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Jerry. Delighted to be here today.
Well, I was ecstatic to hear that you were coming because we've worked together before. But I also wanted to start out with, tell me a little bit about the Chamber and the history and how it got started here.
Absolutely. So our chamber was actually a combination of two chambers back in 1993. There was a Puerto Rican chamber and the Latin chamber back at that time. And the leaders of both communities, the Cuban community, if you will, at the time, and also the Puerto Rican community, decided that it would serve our community, Hispanic, best if they joined forces. So they put agendas aside, they put egos aside. As you can imagine, that must have not been easy. But
it's a difficult process sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think that says a lot about the history of the chamber, that, you know, certainly something we've tried to continue to have one common purpose and one common agenda. And so both of these communities decided that it would be best if we formed the Hispanic Chamber. And at the time, it was the Hispanic Chamber of Central Florida. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they put together their committee, their board, and, you know, the whole bid, and started as the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And here we are, you know, 20 some odd years later, you know, 21 years later with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Metro Orlando.
Well, speaking from the National Entrepreneur Center point of view, yeah. In 2003, they were one of the first groups that joined the National Entrepreneur Center there.
Exactly.
So when did you come to the Chamber?
I came to the Chamber in 2010, January 2010. Uh-huh. So, and I came very reluctantly. You know, I was a previous business owner, and I had some work in the downturn of the economy back in the time when construction was going through its downfall, if you will. Mm-hmm. Our business was in construction and inspections with my husband. And unfortunately, in 2009, we found ourselves in a position where we needed to kind of, you know, look for something else. Rethink. And, you know, that's difficult when you are a business owner.
Absolutely.
Once you get bitten by that bug, it's so difficult to try and think that you're going to go work for someone else.
Absolutely. I know that.
Yeah. But unfortunately, or fortunately, you know, however you want to look at it, I always look at the half full.
Exactly.
I went ahead and found a job, and I was with Workforce Central Florida for a little while, mm-hmm. and then left there, and then the position for Director of Marketing and Sales was open at the Chamber. A colleague of mine had told me about the position, and I really didn't know much about chambers at the time.
Right.
I remember when I went on the interview thinking, okay, what does a chamber really do for a business, and why do I want to give you money? What can you do for me that I can't do for myself? Uh-huh. And so I went into the interview, I think, with that mentality that, you know, I don't know that I really like this social organization or membership organization. You're going to have to tell me where my return on investment is.
Right.
And I pretty much went in the interview with that kind of, those questions, if you will, and I got the job.
Well, I'm sure some of our viewers have that question too. So
absolutely.
What is it that the Hispanic Chamber does for the members, and what can they expect from being a member?
Well, I think most importantly is to really let you know what our mission and our vision is, or what our business model, and to let you know why I've drank the Kool-Aid after 4.5 years with the Hispanic Chamber. So essentially, we provide leadership and support economic development for the Hispanic business community of Central Florida. And we strive to be the leading voice of the Hispanic community in Central Florida as well. And our business model is composed of business networking, business development opportunities and exposure. And when you look at those things that, you know, that you can offer a business, when you look at the things that are important to a business, the return on investment, the value-added propositions, when a small business is starting out, they need exposure, they need recognition, they need networking, they need business development opportunities. And so we focused quite directly on that business model of ensuring that we can give our small businesses that opportunity. And we do it through programs, we do it through signature events, and we have all kinds of different types of programming and events that will allow a small business owner to have that return on investment or that value-added proposition that they may be looking for.
And so I know that sometimes you do get to promote them. I know that you
Yes.
have lots of educational seminars. Let's
Yes.
talk about some of your events that you do as a chamber.
Absolutely. So we have our installation luncheon, which is where basically the community gets to see who our board of directors is, who our incoming chair will be. And that's, you would think, okay, well, that's your board of directors installation, but it's actually a very important event that we do every February where the community learns who the leaders of the chamber are going to be for that coming year,
Right.
what the agenda might be for that coming year for the chamber. And it's an amazing networking opportunity where you have over 600 people, which is what we had this past
I
year.
have to agree with you because I've
Yeah.
attended.
Yes, 653 people we had this past year.
Could you be more specific?
You know, what can I tell you?
653.
I can
think
give you a
that's-
lot of. I can give you a lot of specific numbers. And then, other than the installation luncheon, of course, we have our Hispanic Business and Consumer Expo, which is in its 20th year. That we've had this big event that we hold here at the Orange County Convention Center. And that particular event, it's a 3-day event where we host over 200 businesses. And again, it's business-to-business networking, but it's also business-to-consumer networking. So it's an opportunity for a small business to showcase their products and services, and also for a large corporation to not only support the economic development of those businesses, but to give exposure and branding opportunities during the expo for those large corporations. So it's a very nice marriage between large corporations and small businesses, you know, in a way that they can work together. In addition to that, we also have the Hispanic Business Conference.
Right.
And as you know, that's a fantastic event that's now in its 5th year. And that is really an opportunity for us to have a Hispanic summit, if you will, where we can showcase professional development seminars, excellent speakers, and an opportunity to showcase leadership in our community and to give practical tools and skills to our small businesses that they can actually take back even right then after that event has happened.
Right.
And then on election years, like this year, we have, of course, our political hobnob this year on July 30th. We're
Right.
sold out.
That's
which is,
wonderful already.
You know, already, but very exciting that, you know, we have that coming up.
But I also know you were involved in, wasn't it the expat elections that were...
Correct, with
Recent.
Colombia.
Yes, with Colombia.
Absolutely. So our involvement was more of a supportive role with the Colombian consulate. You know, they needed a facility where they could host, you know, thousands of people to come and vote
That's
for our
services for the
presidential
community
election. Yeah.
that go beyond the business side.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's so important to do those collaborations and partnerships in our community. I love partnering with social organizations or different entities in our community or other chambers, as a matter of fact, where we can collaborate together. I think that if we all work together, we're positively impacting the economic development of our Central Florida, the place where we work, where we live, and where we play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're one of the organizations at the National Entrepreneur Center. That's
Correct.
one of the partnerships that you've had. How's that worked out for the chamber?
I have to tell you, Jerry, that being part of the National Entrepreneur Center is extremely rewarding and extremely important to the success of the Hispanic Chamber. Being part of these 12 organizations, having the National Entrepreneur here, it's crucial. It's crucial to the success of my small businesses and also to the success of the Hispanic Chamber. We collaborate, we partner. It goes very much in hand with that vision that I feel as a leader I need to have. So the things that you guys do at the National Entrepreneur Center, and I have to give you kudos because you run an excellent center that we can all be very proud of.
Well, thank you for that. But that's part of that collaboration that our community is known for.
Exactly.
And that you're a part of. So if somebody wants to have more information on the chamber, how do they find out about membership and how to get involved?
Absolutely. So you can go to our website, HispanicChamber.net. That is one way, or hccmo.org is another way to find us either way, or you can Google us, Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Metro Orlando. And, we usually come up pretty good on Google.
That's right.
And so you can do that, or you can call our phone number, 407-428-5870, and one of our, staff could certainly answer any questions that you may have. But the application is online, the benefits are online, so just about any information that you need is online.
Well, that's great. I see we're coming up on a break here, so let's just pause for a minute. And when we come back, I want to talk about Diana's personal journey from Medellin, Colombia, to president of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Metro Orlando. So we'll be right back with more from Diana Bolivar on Main Street Profiles. Welcome back. You're watching Main Street Profiles, where you can uncover the secrets of turning a good idea into a successful business. I'm your host, Jerry Ross, and we've been talking with Diana Bolivar, president of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Metro Orlando. I'm anxious to hear a little bit about your personal journey to success. So let's start off. I know you're from Colombia. We traveled there a couple of years ago on your coming home tour.
Yes.
But tell me about growing up in Colombia and how you ended up here.
Well, if I may be a little biased, it is the most beautiful country in the world.
It was very beautiful.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. I grew up there until the age of 9 years old, and then my parents moved us to Massachusetts. But during my time there, I have, of course, childhood memories, and most of what I remember from that was my dance teacher in school. I was really into dancing back then, still am, love dancing, and wanted to be a ballerina or, some kind of professional dancer. And
Sure.
I thought, how cool would that be? So I just have very fond memories of dance class, through school. So that was kind of exciting.
Yeah.
But Colombia, I think, really rooted who I am today in me, not just the traditions and the family that I grew up in, but the memories that I have and even my vision of what I thought Colombia was. And then, of course, we moved to Massachusetts.
It's a little bit of a change of culture.
It is. When you're that little, and even back then when there was no internet, so that it's not like you can really assimilate to other cultures or understand or learn. When I first moved here, for example, I thought everybody spoke Spanish. I didn't realize that, that I would have to learn English. I thought quite the opposite. Well, yes, I know they speak English in America, but I'm sure people understand Spanish. The other thing is I thought everybody was Catholic, and then I get to learn that there's Protestants and there's all kinds of different religions, and I'm like, really? I had no idea.
I had no idea.
And then McDonald's to me was probably one of the most exciting things to discover when I moved to Massachusetts. Now, there's McDonald's in Columbia now and everything, but back then, a lot of those things were quite new and exciting to me.
Right.
So that was neat. And school was some getting used to, because in the school where I was, it was a private Catholic school, and there were only 2 Hispanic people in the whole school.
In the whole school.
So I quickly had to learn English, and I think I learned English in about 4 months.
Wow.
And that
total immersion.
Totally, you had to.
Yeah.
There wasn't. I think other than Que Pasa USA was the only semi-bilingual type, where you may hear a little Spanish
Sure.
on TV, that I could remember back then. But everything was English, and you would not believe this, but after being in school for 4 months, I won the spelling bee.
Oh my goodness.
And I don't know if that had something to do with it, but I actually got moved up a few grades during the time that I was here, which I don't recommend.
No.
I don't recommend. I think that children should, go through every stage, because there's a lot of social things that you end up missing.
Sure. Sometimes you're ready intellectually, but maybe not socially.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of like what happened there with some testing that was going on and the whole bit. But a lot of interesting things that I learned throughout the way, like, things that you would take for granted, like shampoo and conditioner. Well, at the time, and I'm dating myself back then, of course, but at the time, I think my mom just purchased shampoo and didn't realize that there was a difference between shampoo and conditioner. And so when
Sure.
she came here, she didn't read the fine print that said conditioner, so I would always be using conditioner. And my hair would be so slimy, and I felt like Carrie from that scary show, sometimes going to school, until a young girlfriend of mine said, we need to do something about your hair. And
you're going to need to discover shampoo.
Exactly. And so I ended up teaching my mom, the differences. And I said, look, there's shampoo and there's conditioner and, and all these cool things. So things that you would take for granted that you would think, of course you would know that. And I don't think that would happen today anywhere in the world, really. But those were kind of some of the things that I had to go through growing up. The cultural change. Absolutely.
So how did you go from Massachusetts? How did you end up in Orlando?
Well, that's an interesting story. So I went to the University of Massachusetts and I studied political science. That was my major at the time, and I wanted to become an attorney. And so we kind of, my husband at the time and I just kind of looked at a map and, kind of put our fingers on a map and said, oh, okay, let's make a deal. Wherever it lands, that's where we're going to go. And then we're not taking it back. It could be Alaska. And then it landed in Orlando. And that was kind of interesting because neither one of us knew much about Florida other than, Mickey Mouse. And
so did you throw a dart or did you put your finger?
We just kind of put our finger on it without looking, and it landed, and both of our fingers landed there. So we said, all right, let's pack up our little U-Haul and move to Orlando.
And when was that?
1988.
88.
Yeah, right out of college. So, and then I started working in law firms, and thought that, the route of attorney would be the way I wanted to go. Didn't quite work out that way, but had quite a lot of experience in the legal field, had a lot of experience in the medical field as well with volunteer work and medical missions that I did to Columbia. I always wanted to give back, so every year I would go back and, try to do things for Columbia. Did that for several years, and then landed in, entrepreneur and being, having my own business.
Sure.
So that's a little bit of the roadmap.
Who from your childhood was the biggest influence?
I would have to say my brothers, to be quite honest. My older brother and my younger brother, they're my heroes.
Yeah.
Both of them taught me so much of how to be tough, how to cope with so many different things that as a child, you need to deal with. And I had my own business when I was 9 years old that my brother started, which was a paper route. But let me tell you, we had the market.
You owned the market.
The Bolivars owned the market in Western Massachusetts.
It was a media empire.
Yes, the 8-9-year-old and the 15-year-old. It was a media empire, and we did very well. And so, we kept acquiring more paper routes. And before we would go to school, we would get up a couple hours early and we would work it, and then after that, it got a little bit boring. We needed a little more money than that, and so I worked at a pizzeria, and I was the cleaning person in the back who cleaned all the pots and pans. At Papagino's at the mall there in Holyoke.
And so, what was the biggest lesson you learned from that first job?
Work ethic. To be proud of anything that you do, and I think that those jobs actually was what set me up, I believe, for success, because I'm not afraid of hard work. I believe, and I've taught my son that, and I always tell people who want to become an entrepreneur or who are afraid to leave their business or their job, I always tell them, don't be afraid to go for your dreams or to do what you want to do. If you're not afraid of hard work, to me, that's freedom, because I know that I can do anything. If I have to go clean houses, work at Papagino's, or do whatever it takes, I know that my family's not going to go hungry because I'm not afraid of hard work.
I learned that lesson too.
Yeah.
Well, we're certainly glad that your finger landed on Orlando. So
me too.
We're out of time for this segment. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the lessons learned and some of the experience that you have along the way and what you might offer our viewers. So when we return, we want to share some of Diana's advice for you as a viewer on small business and her lessons learned along the way. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Main Street Profiles, where you can discover the secrets of turning a good idea into a successful business. I'm Jerry Ross, and today we're talking with Miss Diana Bolivar, president of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Metro Orlando. Diana, you have hundreds of members, and you see businesses on a daily basis. So what would you say are the biggest challenges facing businesses today?
I think probably the biggest challenge that businesses have today is access to capital. I still continue to believe and see from all of the businesses that visit us that seems to be the biggest obstacle to small businesses, the access to capital. You know, you'll hear commercials all the time of banks saying, yes, we're lending and, you know, we have opportunities, but it does not appear to be as easy, which I actually I agree with the banks that they need to be more responsible and vet the businesses,
right,
you know, before lending them any monies. But there seems to not be enough opportunity out there, or it's challenging for these small businesses to try and find where they can find those solutions or alternative solutions to funding.
Is that for a startup business or an existing business or both?
Or I would say both. For a startup business or a business that's getting ready to get to maybe that phase 2 where they're growing,
right,
and they're having those growing pains. And so even businesses that have weathered the storm of the last couple of years, and you know they've had a decent, you know, weathering of financially, right, they're finding those challenges.
It hasn't been easy.
No,
and
it has
so
not.
If they've survived, you know,
Yeah,
they've taken some of those
taken a hit.
knees, and so they may not
Exactly.
be the perfect credit score that some of the old financial statements used to look for.
Exactly, and I think, you know, the way these institutions look at a business, I mean, they need to look, especially for those that have been established, perhaps look at the history before the downturn in the economy and see how they performed at that time, and then, you know, maybe have a different metric system as to how to, you know, look at that company during the years of 2009, 2010, and 11, and then see how they're doing now. So I think that would probably be one of the biggest challenges, access to capital for sure.
Yeah.
When
you look at the economy here in Central Florida, is that a good time for businesses? Is this a good time for them to start? Has this been a good environment for small business in Central Florida?
I think so. I think our state in particular is one of the best states in the country to start a business. Central Florida, it's a great community. It's a great place to start your business. Like anyone starting a business any place, I think it's important that they vet it carefully, that they look at the options and, you know, the business or competitors. Why are you going into business? So I wouldn't tell someone, if you have an idea, just go for it. There are many organizations like the National Entrepreneur Center, SCORE, SBDC, the Hispanic Business Initiative Fund, so, and even our chambers, who will be more than happy to sit with any business. It doesn't have to be Hispanic in our case, or you know, any type of business, to come and get some professional advice and really try and understand whether the business they're trying to get into it's the right one. But I think our state is ripe for business. I think that this is a great place to start a business. With the support of the National Entrepreneur Center, I think it could really help.
What do you think? You know, that's been a common theme that we hear people say Central Florida is a great place, and what makes it that way?
I think we do. I honestly think that the leaders in this community, the organizations, our government, we all collaborate very nicely. You see it from Dr. Hidd with the, you know, Valencia, with Dr. Sugart, or all the different institutions that Dr. McGee, all of the different institutions, and how well they collaborate together.
Right.
And so I think that spirit of collaboration, I've heard other states really admire that spirit of collaboration that we have here. And I think that's what it takes. It's almost like what I was telling you, the history of the Hispanic Chamber, putting those agendas aside and looking at what's in the best interest of Central Florida, and how can we impact the economic development here. So long as we all collaborate, which I think is what we do at the National Entrepreneur Center, and certainly us at the Hispanic Chamber, that helps a business grow. And there's great opportunities here with the UCF Incubator, even the Soft Landing Program, if you want to come from other countries. So there's great opportunities here, you know, to be able to open your own business.
I think you were a part of an organization that visited the Entrepreneur Center recently from Colombia.
From Cali, correct.
To bring research and commercialization to the region. How does something like that happen?
Well, that is one of the most exciting things that I think we're able to affect and be part of as a community, because I do believe that we're part of a global economy. And I think we have to think in those terms. Even in the downturn of the economy, when we were here going through our struggles, we had to think outside the box. Where can we get our customer base, or how can we expand our business, or even survive through that time period?
Right.
And I think for us, because geographically speaking, we're so close to Latin America, it gives us an opportunity for us to be able to expand and be able to showcase what we do here in Florida and take our brand to Latin America, to Colombia, as we have. So I think the fact that we've had these people now coming is kind of the fruit of the labor that we've started a few
Right.
years ago, where we were able to go to Colombia and tell the folks there that we're more than Disney, which it's a great corporation, has done a lot for our community, but there's so much more here in Central Florida and opportunities, for any entrepreneur, really.
And I think that's part of the new branding campaign that comes along to say, Orlando, you don't know the half of it.
Correct.
That the other half of the story is that a lot of business happens here too.
And I think, Jerry, that I think that even the businesses here, or the community here, don't really understand the other half of it. And we perhaps need to also educate our community on the other half of it, on our simulation industry, on our medical, centers in our community, and Medical City, and everything else that's happening here in Central Florida. I've talked to my neighbors
Creative
about
Village.
things. Creative Village. Yeah, there's so much here. But I think even us, the community, don't necessarily know the gem that is Central Florida.
Well, you are one of those gems, and so we're lucky that you're here. A last word of advice for someone that is considering starting a new business, or is in a new business and happens to be watching today. What kind of advice from your experience and your journey can you offer those folks?
Well, I always say that you have to have confidence in everything that you do. So I think it's important that you believe in yourself. And sometimes that's difficult to do because, we have all kinds of little voices telling us, all kinds of things. So have confidence. But if you really believe in your product or service, and you went into business for a reason, and you're already there, and you see the opportunities, don't give up. Find, support. That's what we have in this community. So I tell people, believe in yourself, because I think that's where it starts. It's the messages that you give yourself that makes you successful.
I heard a saying when I was growing up that said, you need to believe in being 10 foot tall and bulletproof, even when you feel that you're 1 inch tall and BB proof.
I love that. That's exactly right.
And so sometimes it's that belief that helps you make it through even a tough time.
I agree, and I think that that's a great message no matter what you do in life. It has to start with you.
Well, I know how busy you are, and I know how many things you have going on, but I appreciate the fact that you've taken time to come down here and share your experience and your journey with us here on Main Street Profiles.
Thank you, Jerry. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Once again, I would like to thank Orange County Government, the National Entrepreneur Center, for their ongoing support of our business community, which includes the show. And finally, I would like to thank you for what you do each and every day to make our community a great place to live, work, and play. So until next time, I'm Jerry Ross, and I'll see you on Main Street.